What's up, people? Jason DeBillius. This is Rob McLean. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. This is episode 33. The episode starts right now. Hey, what's up? Jason DeBillius. This is Rob, Keep It McLean. Thank you for having us back in your living room or wherever you may be. And this is truly the week where I get to sing, we've got to give the people, give the people what they want. Hey, Rob, I'm so excited about the NFL. I mean, I don't know what's going to look like. We got week 1 coming up. We have a special section called Pick 6, where we pick the 6 most difficult or competitive games. And you, the fans, get to submit your 6. And every week, Rob and I compete against the different fans. And we'll do a cumulative win-loss record of us against our guests. This week, I believe, is Brendan Fang. Next week, I'm hoping to get Trevor Crabb because I know he's big on football, and as well as Ty Loomis. Lakers beat the Rockets yesterday. We're going to talk about them and where the path steers against what seems like this highway to hell or this inevitable path with the Clippers. But first things first, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. I mean, if I didn't talk about this, it would be, as volleyball players, it would be volleyball malpractice. All right. First thing up is we're talking about Kerri Walsh. Okay, in a lengthy Instagram post Sunday night, 3-time Olympic gold medalist and beach volleyball player, Kerri Walsh Jennings laid out her opposition to wearing face masks as it takes away individual rights and discussed her little exercise in being brave on going shopping without wearing a mask. Before you answer this, before I pose the question, there's something I wanted to read. And we're definitely going to cover this in depth a little bit. She basically said this after she said she did this experiment, this brave experiment. She went to the store and without wearing a mask. And after that, she said, this statement woke me up, and the truth of it has had me obsessing on the matter of how I can mindfully and compassionately stand up for my rights and for the freedom of our Constitution has granted us all without being reckless or putting anyone else in danger. But highlighting, thank you, Dakita Dawn asked me to post this, what a lot of people might have had a problem with, and now I just lost it on Facebook. I can't believe this. All right, I'll skip that part. Let's talk about this long post, but where we have to highlight. I almost feel like it's a straw man fallacy to take this little part of these elongated post and use it to represent her argument as a collective whole. But Rob, when you first saw this post or heard about this post and you had a chance to examine it, what was your reaction?
So, I mean, I saw it pretty late, and a lot of people had commented whatever stuff they had commented on already. For one, being in the volleyball community, it's very nice to hear the outspoken voices of, people who are trying to really push the right message, which is a message of love, which is, I think the hardest thing for me is when I first really became, when I first knew or heard of Kerri Walsh and Misty May. Kerri was such a brimming character, and she had such a message to bring, and I feel like after volleyball players have to, create such a different life for themselves, and they'll still always have the platform that they have. That's what they fought for their entire careers. Each one of us volleyball players fight for a platform to express our views. So I have no problem with people expressing their views, but the way things are today, everybody has a very big voice on social media. They can. If they say the most craziest things, the most ridiculous things, or just regular, people just doing great things. They have great followings of people. And the people that watch you and follow you, you're an idol to them, just like your children. I don't have children of my own, but you know, looking at a person who is a mother of children, I can see that she's seen things from a lot of different perspectives. Kids back to school, kids not back to school. There's a lot of conversation going on out there. But the collective understanding is that to wear a mask is not mandated, but it's almost respectful at this point, And I think in a time of a time where we are, when you realize what's happening all around us, I think the biggest thing that you need is to show your core values, right? And whether it's an experiment or not, that's great. She got that off her chest. Whether she's going to keep experimenting is, we'll see. But I think that the common understanding is that it's the decency of the person next to you to protect themselves as well as you. And I just see that as like a selfish move, but it's not a big deal where I think she's a horrible person or I think she's, done something to harm people, intentionally. But that's just the deal. If you understand enough to know that you could hurt somebody, just protect yourself. It's not difficult to wear a mask. It's not taking of freedoms. I thought someone had a great post about, people talk about slavery all over the world and all the centuries of the world. Let's talk about women's rights. If we want to talk about Black Lives Matter, how about women matter? And it's been for a very, very, very long time that women have been put down and been the second person in society. And now there's a minority and a majority. So there's another second in the world. And it just doesn't have to be like that, So I thought Jen Kesey really said it was the best, where they had played each other in Dubai. And you have women that aren't even allowed to go into the stadium, women that aren't even allowed to play sports. That's freedom. That's not having freedom. So yes, we do have freedoms in these countries, but we can also abuse those freedoms. Freedom of speech can be abused. It can be. It's not that it shouldn't be allowed, but you have to just be a little bit conscious to understand that there are bad things out there that you don't have to hear all the time, that you don't have to see all the time. That's just a very common understanding that there are bad things and you don't have to listen to them. You don't have to hear them. It's the same thing with mental health. You have to better yourself and be better. So for me, when I saw that, it was just a lot of mixed emotions, where I thought somebody who could, lead in the right direction to maybe, fuse, a community, towards a better direction, towards love. I just don't get how all of her earlier messages of love and togetherness and to be, it leads from this message of, I'm not going to wear a mask when everybody else is wearing a mask. It's just a really rebellious, move. And I have nothing against people who don't wear a mask. It's just, that's your choice, and you're choosing to either, show some decency or to not, and it's not, you don't have to wear a mask, when you go out for a walk, it's just when you're around people in a tight space. Like it's just a little indecent.
All right, Rob, before I say what I got to say, you made some very strong points. When you went into women's rights, I thought you were veering off a little bit, but watching you bring it back full circle makes complete sense to me. And sometimes patience is a virtue, because once again, your genius has come through for making a bigger point across for everybody listening. But before I say what I want to say, I gotta say, free speech. Let's talk about rights. Free speech protects you from government persecution. It doesn't protect you from other free speech. Free speech doesn't protect you from getting fired at your job. You can't call your boss an asshole and expect to keep your job. I will also agree with you that just because something's your right does not always make it a good idea. I bring your attention to the Second Amendment, right? It's your right it's a constitutional right to bear arms. But if anyone knows anything about my grandmother on my on my father's side, who thought aliens are streetlights, we don't want her having a gun because it's her right. So I think the whole general blanket of be brave because we're free is however noble in its intent, is lazy in its assertion. I'm not gonna lie, Casey. You better brace your seat for what I'm about to say right now, because this is my first take, first, and then what I'm about to, and then looking back. When I first saw this and just this story, I said this woman's off her rocker, and I said, Casey, please call me. What the hell? What the hell is going on with this? Please, just talk to me before I even go on the show, and then have this one-dimensional spiel that derives from something we call a straw man fallacy. Ladies and gentlemen, a straw man fallacy is when you take one small part of someone's argument and you use it to represent them as a whole. And before, I had to take a step back because I'm like, let me just read the whole post, and then I read the whole post. And then I read the whole post. And then I read the whole post. This thing was long. Her follow-up was long. And her follow-up from her follow-up was long. So my first take and what I feel now are two completely different things, because I think there were so many good points that she put into this. It's entirely unfair to take these one or two things. And there's something else that she said that upset a lot of people, particularly African-American beach players. Not a lot of beach players are speaking up about this because it's Kerri Walsh, right? I mean, you say something bad about her, it's like saying Candyman 3 times. Someone comes to your door and you're a dead man. It's probably Casey Jennings who defends his wife tooth and nail. Listen, my girl, someone says something about her, guess what? I'm waiting outside too. We scrapping. So from my first take to this, we had this discussion before. Remember we had this discussion about someone saying something that comes from their heart, the difference between what comes from their heart and what's missing in their head. This is living proof that those things are not mutually exclusive. They're binary. It did come from her heart, and there's a lot of stuff missing from her head. This whole thing about going to the store and going without a mask was a test of bravery for herself is highly illogical. And this is where everyone was disappointed in her. Okay, the end of her post on her revamp, she had a quote from Thomas Jefferson. I prefer dangerous to freedom. I prefer dangerous freedom to peaceful slavery. People are going to disagree with that. Okay, Thomas Jefferson's my dude. The dude owned slaves, but he took a quote that I use all the time: patriotism, dissension is the greatest form of patriotism. Your ability to disagree, to have an open mind, and to exercise your constitutional right to free speech, as long as your rights, or you exercising your rights, don't infringe upon the rights and the safety and the security of others. And this is where I disagree with her. If you take off, for the people at home in March, I thought wearing a mask protects you from getting it. And yeah, it provides some protection, but not really. Not really, a very low percentage. The higher percentage comes from you wearing the mask in case you have it. It prevents you more from giving it to somebody else. There are going to be a lot of doctors that disagree on the art of the mask, but you're not going to find a large percentage of doctors that will not stipulate to some level of protection wearing a mask in case you have it, right? Because Rob, this disease, you could be symptomatic, or you could have no symptoms and still have it. I mean, if I had Ty Loomis on the show, he's probably thinking there's some kind of electric shock in your blood, and still by the government. I mean, there are going to be a lot of opinions, but I'm talking about a general consensus. So I don't think she was out of line. I just thought she had an opinion and she tried something, and I didn't think it was the smartest freaking thing in the world. I thought it was a big mistake on her part. I think it's a big mistake to compare people who value their safety to slavery. I'll cite some players. Falafanoy Moana had a problem with that. Local talent, CBVA talent, Takeda Dawn had a problem with that. I don't mean to throw their names out there, but they put it on social media. And once you put something on social media like she did, guess what? We're not minding our own business right now. So one, I think she's wrongheaded in her approach and her level of thinking on that, and only that. But two, the most important thing, I think it's incredibly unfair for people to use this as a straw person fallacy to represent what her intention of the post is as a collective whole. She's talking about taking care of yourself. She's talking about staying healthy. She's talking about if you by chance do get this virus, there are the science. Now, I'm not going to say scientific fact, but the scientific studies show that being healthier helps you combat the virus better. That's a very, very, very big, strong point in her diatribe that a lot of people are overlooking because of what they disagree. Rob, in our society, you can do 19 things right and one thing wrong, and people are quick to jump on you on the one thing wrong. Then you got someone like Rush Limbaugh who does a whole bunch of things wrong, but contributes like $3 million to Gold Star families, and he gets the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I mean, it's a weird society, and I'm not going to argue slippery slope because I'm not arguing slippery slope. She is flawed in her post, and she is right in her post, and she left herself vulnerable because that's called taking a chance. Sometimes you're thinking out loud. You're trying to put things into words. It's not like she did this to inflict pain, emotional pain on people. She did. It's not like she did this to show people, like, oh, this is the mistake I made and it's okay. That's honestly not where I think she was coming from with this. So, and it's really weird even talking about this as volleyball players because we met her so many times personally. And if you've ever met anyone that's ever met her, you feel like you've known her for years. For anyone that's ever met her, you know that she treats everybody the same. For anyone that's ever met her, her niceness and, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? That's not phony. In our world, Rob, there are a lot of people and that do that. And I'm like, you're a phony. That bitch is phony. No, you know what? You're going to have to miss me with that. You're phony. No, her niceness comes from this genuinely great place. So, and a lot of people think that I'm speaking out of loyalty to Casey because Casey, along with Duncan Avery, Deron Forbes, and John Mayer, when I moved here, kind of helped me with the meeting of the minds and even made me gainfully employed. But I have you on the show, Rob, because to put it in a political fashion, our critical thinking skills determine our vote. Our vote does not determine our critical thinking skills. So that's my take, my first take, and then my second take. Again, I had a chance to speak to Casey, and Casey and I have infinitely different social, political, and ideological philosophies, but to take those things and to vilify someone for making a mistake that we both concede as just as ignorance, not stupid, ignorance, maybe not knowing any better, is fair and unfair. Kerri's and I'll finish with this, and the floor is yours. Ignore the trolls. They're going to be people that say, oh, she's, I've seen so many hurtful things out there. Oh, she's a racist. Oh, that's from her heart. She's not a racist. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's what's missing from someone's head. So, and someone of that stature doesn't feed the trolls anyway. But a lot of the feedback she got and the level of disappointment truly hurt that one because she wasn't trying to hurt people's feelings. She's home right now thinking about this. She's not saying I don't give a F what they think. She does give a F what they think. And I'm going to say one more thing about her that I think I know, that I think I'm right. On a subconscious level, this woman wants everybody to like her. And I know that because I'm that person. I want everybody to like me. Sometimes people aren't going to like you. Sometimes people have their mind made up. Sometimes you say something or do something that disappoints someone. And that's where it comes from. She's an inherently nice person. And I don't think it's her intention to get everyone to like her. I just think on a subconscious level and on a human level and on a vulnerable level, we all feel that way. Everyone says, oh, I don't care what people think, but that's not true. I say I don't care what people think all the time, but on a subconscious level, I want people to like me. So that's my take on Kerri. And did you want to follow up on that?
No, I'm okay. It's just yeah, everybody has their opinion, it's fine to them, but yeah, just, you got to know who you are. It's like this is what I was going to say too, is that,
Please.
you have to compare her to, people at the top of other sports. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if LeBron is saying, because to us, she's like, the old head, the Manu Ginobili, or, the Carmelo Anthony, or, she's at the end of her career, but she's still a legend, So you have, like, people say she's one of the greatest, beach volleyball players in U.S. history, maybe of all time,
Yeah.
medals wise,
Well,
definitely
for me,
up
it's
there. So,
Jackie Silva, but go ahead.
So when somebody says something like that, legend of all time, Pele, Muhammad Ali, when somebody says something, people immediately listen, and to not, and I'm not calling it rambling, but to think out loud publicly, in a public figure stature, it's
a very vulnerable thing.
It's a very, I can't find my words to it's not it's just not it's not conducive to a progressive conversation. You can say things you might want to take back, or, oh, I didn't mean that, but it's out there, so I just think maybe, you can think things through and then come back with, a message, because it seemed like she was trying to create a message from a situation, instead of, having a message and then fulfilling that with, the situation. So, that's all I gotta say, really. It's just, I would love to see, people go the other way, and just, 2 weeks, 2 months of everybody obeying, and just doing something, and then, hey, we'll be out of the woodworks. But everybody has to do their own thing all the time. And again, that's freedom, but that's why we're now behind people. We're in a different, we're in a different century, man.
Yeah.
It's not 1920, we're not trying to, expand the United States. That's being brave, is going out west. You know what I mean? It's not, this is different, man. This is, you have to do it with your mind. You have to,
Yeah, this is why I have less of a problem with this, because, as we said on this podcast, if you don't behave like adults, the government will treat you like children. Like you said, if we can't go 2 straight months without people saying, "Oh, I don't give a damn, F it this, F it that," then, it's going to be shut down again, and then all politics comes in, because don't think that the people who disagree with her post don't have are not politically inclined to disagree as well. I mean, and don't think the people defending her tooth and nail are not people that share her political ideology. I mean, our recent president has hijacked all but hijacked sports, and on via Twitter, and that's, unfortunately, that's something I don't want to talk about right now. But there's no one on either side of the aisle that will disagree with that. And his name has been involved in every single sport. It's like Candyman again. Go ahead, Rob.
Just one more thing too, is like, if you disagree with what she's doing, think about yourself, what you're going to speak back. Don't just speak back in hatred or, disbelief, or, come back with like an understood point of why, and just everybody can have a little point of why this is unnecessary, and why they feel like it's, not helpful to the situation going forward. Because cool, let's all take our masks off, and then it's what, like, oh, let's make sure anybody that's already had immune problems, that means they've gone through some horrible things in their life, already. Let's just make them have no life and no connection and no other people around them, because that's what they really need in their life. Like, how shallow does your thinking go? Like, zero empathy, zero introspection, zero thinking about other people. I'm sorry. There's no being brave in that. I like the words that were chosen in that post. Like, I don't want to keep going on this, because I think I'm just going to keep talking about
they were chosen.
Things,
it came in a separate paragraph. It came in its own separate paragraph. So of course it was chosen. It wasn't like it wasn't lumped into one paragraph.
So yeah, there's just a lot of context there where I would love to have a conversation, Like, because I think that there was a lot of raw thought there, and that's for conversation. That's not for a definitive statement. And that's what social media is a statement.
Yeah.
A written statement, you can delete it, but you can't take that back. It's on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, that is a statement. So that's why it means something different than, oh, I was just trying to try something out and I'm just an experiment. Like, how do you call an experiment, but then you're being brave, right? Like, it's a one-time thing. That's an experiment. You know, an experiment is a one-time deal. You know, it's not like I'm going to try something out, and then if it works, you know, maybe I keep going forward with it. But it's a one-time deal. I'm going to try it out. You know, like, if you want to be brave, say that I'm going to do this going forward and state your points, and this is what's going to happen. And, you know, people follow through. If that was that message, I'd understand people, you know, I love this, I love that, you know, go for your, you know, be brave, because that is brave. But that it seemed like being brave was the end of the sentence, you know, the end of the paragraph. It wasn't, you know, the statement being made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And yeah, and I like how you said that. Look, we have friends that have some crazy ideas. That doesn't make them, it doesn't make them our enemy. It doesn't mean we don't like them. To quote Joe Rogan, he says, I have some pretty insane friends and I love them to pieces. Okay. I'm not saying Kerri and I are close friends like that. We're not fishing buddies. And, you know, again, I'm closer to people that are close to her than her herself. But she's no exception. She's not the exception that rewrites the rules. She's someone that we adore that had a crazy idea. And that's all. And really, that's all this is. You know, I'm not saying it's much ado about nothing, because that would be just disingenuous to me, because it isn't nothing. If it was nothing, it wouldn't be, you know, we'd be talking about the NFL right now. We'd be talking about Israel Adesanya against Costa, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. I will end this by saying Casey and Kerri, or both, are more than welcome to come on our show and talk to us about this. Either on the Option Podcast, we can go one-on-one, or come on Sports Debate Tuesday, and we could talk about that. So,
or privately first.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, I mean, like I said, not
we
live.
can talk.
Not live.
Yeah.
we could just pre-air, and she'd be like, don't, okay, cut that part out. You know, but I mean, come on, dude. I'm not going to sound like a brat, but you can go on to ESPN and have popular people ask you softball questions. But those aren't the people that, I mean, she's trying to appeal to people that are, she's transcendent of the sport, meaning people that don't watch the sport know who she is. But sometimes you got to come home. Sometimes you got to come full circle. And the concentration of people who view my podcast and this episode are a huge conglomerate of volleyball players from like 18 different countries, you know? So they are more than welcome. Anytime they want to come on this show, I welcome them with open arms. You know, my office, my studio has a big social distance thing anyway. So, I mean, you know, this is a pretty big room. If she calls me from across the room, they charge a long distance. All right, so good. We shut the door on that, unless someone wants to post and open that, and we'll answer those things later. Because right now this is live, and we will take some active questions or active posts. And Deron Forbes has already spoke out. Cool, that's our boss. Let's move on. Hey Rob, let's move on to the NFL. Every week for the entire NFL season, we're going to have something called Pick Six, people. Pick Six is where we take 6 competitive games from the NFL, and Rob and I pick our winners. And we select a fan to pick their 6, and then the next week we compare win-loss records. The entire season is going to be dedicated to you, Rob and I, against you, the fans. A cumulative win-loss record, if you will, of our Pick Six. So let's start with pick number 1, Rob. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Rams.
I mean, I'm going to probably go Cowboys, unfortunately. Ugh.
Yeah, you going Cowboys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cowboys too. Wait a second.
Stand the Cowboys.
Hope
they lose, but I'm picking them.
I'm trying to scroll. This thing's not letting me scroll. Thank you. Week 1 of 17. Cowboys against the Rams. I'm going to go with Cowboys. The Rams don't really have a proven running game against Gurley. And I think the Cowboys right now, with the people they have on defense and in the back, like the back 4, as well as a strong linebacking core. You could stack 8 in the box. Actually, you don't need to stack 8 in the box. They don't have a real running threat since Gurley left. And Goff, I think they're gonna feast on Jared Goff, and I think that's a home game for the Rams, and I'll find out in a minute. That's what I was looking to scroll for. Game number two, Green Bay against the Green Bay Packers against the Minnesota Vikings.
That's a good game.
It's always a good game, that one.
I probably got to go with Green Bay. I think that regardless of who. There's a lot of teams who could have players out, just with the coronavirus and not playing the season. But I think that, Aaron Rodgers is that transcending kind of player where, man, he's gonna win a game if he can. So I'd probably pick him, especially with Kirk Cousins, kind of the choke man, highest paid choke man in the league. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go against the Vikings on that one. Just lost Stephon Diggs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Minnesota. Green Bay, if you look at their win-loss record, Rob, it's like cumulative. Like the last decade, it is ridiculously good. It is ridiculously good, starting from 2011 all the way up to now, where I think they were 15-1. And they're always going to be like 12-4, 13-3. Occasionally will have an 8-8 season. Rodgers got hurt. That wasn't one of their best seasons. But if you look at the division, and splitting the difference on some of these teams, there hasn't been a more successful divisional rival than the Minnesota Vikings, and they always seem to win that game at home. And I think Rodgers stumbles out of the block on this one. I'm going to pick Minnesota. Let's go Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Giants. Your G-men.
I'm gonna go with the Giants on this one.
Ooh, you got
I like
balls.
I like what they're doing on offense. I think the defense has a lot of ifs, ends, or buts. So I think by this week we'll figure out if they're a good team or not. And I think the Steelers had a couple players that aren't coming through this year. I want to think. Yeah. So I'm hoping for a coronavirus victory, where a couple players aren't really there because they chose not to be there this season. But yeah, I'm liking what the Giants have, so I'm gonna go with my G-man.
I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers because if you're looking at teams that have weaknesses in certain areas, particularly the linebacker position with the Giants, and particularly run blocking with Pittsburgh, and this and that, I call it a wash. And if it's a wash, I'm always going to go with the better coach. That's Mike Tomlin, who last year lost Ben Roethlisberger, who lost Le'Veon Bell, and who lost Antonio Brown, and still managed to finish 8-8. Make mine, much as I love my G-man, I got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The third game, let's go. Actually, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I even have 6? What's wrong with me? Let's go Bucks against the Saints. Ooh, interesting game. Brady against Breeze right out of the box.
I'm probably gonna go with the Bucks on this one. A lot of excitement. They just signed Leonard Fournette, so they really solidified their run game. Especially with their front line, and their defense. Is great. Some great receivers. Tom Brady's throwing a good deep ball. I'd definitely love to see what the Bucks do in the first week, but in the preseason. But yeah, I'm definitely going with the Bucks on this one.
Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Well, who am I even kidding? The Saints are going to get whooped. They have a stout defense, but at no time have they faced a receiving core and a fresh blocking and good catching tight end in Gronkowski. Gronkowski was his number one target with the Patriots. Gronkowski, even in his prime, is not even the number 2 target in this offense with Godwin and with Evans, who's on my fantasy team, by the way. And Brady finally has some people to throw to. He ain't got excuses, and he's not into the business of making up excuses on this one. He's going to come in, balls out, make mine Tampa Bay Bucks. All right, we got Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I gotta go Ravens on this one. I just the Cleveland Browns got another new head coach. You know, they got a whole system they got to implement. Um, who knows where Miles Garrett's head's at? Um, Baker Mayfield hasn't been playing the best football. It doesn't sound like he's, confidence is all at an all-time high like it was coming out of college. So, and that was my biggest knock on him is if he doesn't have his confidence, what does he have? He doesn't have, the size. He has a little bit of the arm, but he's tough pick. So, I just not a big fan of the Cleveland Browns.
I'm not big fan of the Cleveland Browns either. And it really centers behind one person. It's Baker Mayfield. The guy's attitude from college all the way up to the pros has rubbed me the wrong way. And they split with the Ravens last year. And when they beat the Ravens, they really, really rubbed it in. They rubbed it in the game when they were winning. They rubbed it in at the end. The same thing that happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are truly creating division rivals with everyone they're playing in their division, outside of the division mostly, but highlighting who their division was. And it left such a bad taste in the mouth of John Harbaugh, Jackson, and basically the entire defense that they probably told themselves, anyone but him, I am never losing to this team again. The second time they played them, they beat them. They made a statement game, and the statements meaning were determined by what everyone else thinks. They made a statement game because everyone else thought that the better team won, and I think the better team's going to win this time. And I expect them to put some extra sauce on it to send a message in the beginning of the season from day one. The sixth game, I didn't even have a 6-1 written down, but I think you probably know what's going to be, and I'll just flash it up. Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets.
Well, I mean, I got to go Bills on this one. I mean, Jets are still really unproven. I don't even know. Is Le'Veon Bell still with them?
Yeah.
Didn't they trade him?
No, he's still with him.
That's good, though, because they don't got anything else. They got Sam Darnold, but he's, a toss-up. I never really liked him out of college. I always thought he needed maybe a couple more years. And then, I just, their defense is kind of always the same kind of deal where they keep getting defensive linemen and they just don't really have a talent. How do you draft Darrelle Revis and then you never get a cornerback again? I don't get it. So for me, I just can never go with the Jets. So
yeah, I can't go with the Jets for so many reasons. I mean, Adam Gase is still unproven. One of the weirdest looking people I've ever seen, and Stephen A. Smith on First Take keeps highlighting that. But I think he's really made a statement of getting rid of anyone that is not on board with what he's doing. I mean, the guy you're talking about they traded was the cornerback, who was probably their best defensive player. He got traded to Seattle, or just outright released. I don't even know. The people watching, you can tell me, but I like Gase, but I don't trust Sam Darnold. I haven't trusted a USC quarterback since Troy Aikman. Okay. And that was with Jimmy Jones and a crewed up Dallas Cowboys team. So Buffalo spent a lot of money on their defense, and I expect their defense to get 2 turnovers, and I expect one of those turnovers to result in a score, field goal, or a touchdown. And if they're doing that on defense, their discipline on this no-name running back core, along with Josh Allen, who has great legs, as far as creating time or just breaking out, for a few yards. I would love for him to slide more, dude. I would love for him to not go for those extra yards. You are a quarterback in the NFL. You have to Russell Wilson that stuff, boy. You got to protect yourself. Russell Wilson, the reason why he's healthy is he gets his yards and he runs out of bounds and he throws defenses fits. But let's just skip all that, and I'm picking the Bills. That's not and that's a rich stadium too. No, you're gonna have to miss me with that one. The Jets are not winning that game. All right, let's move on. We're moving on to the NBA. Sports Debate Tuesday. We just keep on going. Last night, the Lakers defeated the Rockets 112-102. Nice 10-point victory by the Lakers over a very capable offensive juggernaut, I will call them. They're a little small, but they play big on scoring points, don't they? They just light up the world with threes. So the Lakers, as well as the Clippers, right now have a 2-1 lead on their opposition, and it looks like this highway to hell for the NBA Conference Western Conference Finals will be held, well, not in LA but in the bubble, but Staples Center, Staples Center is there in spirit. So Rob, my question is, with both teams on this path to face each other, can the Rockets or the Nuggets, how should I say, spoil the party? Which team has a better chance of spoiling the West Coast party between the Rockets and the Nuggets?
I'd have to say probably the Rockets, because I think that they have more defensive capable players. But I really don't think either of these teams are capable of beating in the 7-game series. Absolutely not. But, I don't think that, win 4 games for the Nuggets against the Clippers. I just think the Clippers are a better version of the Nuggets. They play a little bit more defense. They maybe aren't as good at offense, but, they're just – the Nuggets play no defense. And then, the Rockets just don't have the players to really compete against the Lakers, in the sense that they have to just play their game. They got to shoot a ton of threes. They got to score 140 points, and they got to hope that, LeBron and AD, don't have the gas to keep up with them. This is the time to do that. So I think that the Rockets have a lot more of a chance. I don't think it's really possible that they're going to do it. But yeah, they can put up the points, and they can play a little bit more defense. So even if the roles were reversed, I think the Rockets would have a better chance against the Clippers than, the Nuggets do now. And the Nuggets would do worse against the Lakers than the Rockets would. So in my opinion, I think the Nuggets look awesome. I can't wait to see what they're going to be in the next couple of years, but they're just out of their league right now. And, it's going to be nice to see the Clippers play. I don't even want to see this small 5 anymore. So hopefully the Rockets do lose in 4. In 5, so that would be nice. LA. It's going to happen.
I think LA happens. And I'm really going out on a limb to say that that no one would be surprised if both teams won 4-0. Oh wow, Jason, you really went out on a limb on that one. Oh my God, your journalism is above and beyond the Call of Duty. Something about the Lakers. When I first saw this matchup, I thought that it would be more competitive with the Lakers and whatever, but something that's not talked about the Lakers is the coaching, because I already said, and you might agree with this, the winner of the East Coast, or the last teams from the Eastern Conference it's going to be about coaching, and the last teams from the Western are going to be about players. I don't think a lot of people dispute that. But with that being said, the ability for the Lakers to make adjustments just after playing game 1 is amazing. And Vogel is to be respected. Jason Kidd, who's his assistant, is to be respected. LeBron James, who's been kind of an on-court coach since high school, is to be respected. And just this simple adjustment of matching up Anthony Davis with PJ Tucker is ridiculous. Davis, I have it here somewhere, but the highlight was James scoring 36 points last night, 7 boards. Harden also put up 33, but Rondo was the story of last night's game with 21 points and 9 assists. He just started lighting it up when it was super necessary, because it was kind of back and forth. It's just the scoring swings with seesaw. So I look at how they make adjustments between each game, and they just get better and better. And I think they're going to win 4-1, and that's sad, because I really like the Rockets. I really like their small ball. The Nuggets, I think they're also going to lose 4-1 because the Clippers have so many two-way players. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverley. You just have so many two-way players. Not to mention these European guys that can light up the scoreboard from the jump shot to just dunking on people's heads. So both go 4-1, but I will say if there's anyone that goes 4-2, I think the Rockets can probably win one if they have one of those days where they're just jacking up the threes and have a day where they can't miss. Because not even the best defense in the world is not going to stop that if someone's just rolling up on you, and it's like, okay, you give me this space, I'm gonna shoot it. You give me half court, I'm gonna shoot it. And we've seen the Rockets, just like the Warriors, have games like that, but not enough to win 4 out of 7 times.
Yeah, James Harden's got to drop 50. That's just if he's not dropping 50, that team's not going to win. That's just what it is. The only reason they're even running a small ball team is because of James Harden. No one else in the league. I don't even care if it's Mike D'Antoni. He wouldn't have the cojones to do that, right? He wouldn't have the fire to say to his owner that, hey, we're going to go and trade our 7-foot center who's doing really well, and just because he got injured, and play small ball for the next however many years until my contract's over. Like, no way you're doing that unless James Harden's dropping 50 and 16 and, a steal or two, like something. Like, he cannot be dropping 33, not getting to the foul line, more than 10 times. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. You got to start picking up your game.
Oh, my God. You said it all. So for the people listening to us live, we're going to do shame or no shame, but you're going to have to be patient with our transition. All right? We're going to do the FIVB thing and the quick question thing. Consolidate that, because I don't think we need to go talk a long time about that. This section, ladies and gentlemen, is called shame or no shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Do that. Rob, shame or no shame? Josh Gordon sells Super Bowl ring for $138K.
I mean, honestly, no shame, because, he didn't really even play in the game. He just got the ring for being on the team. So, I mean, I think it's a good memorabilia, but if you're going to get $35K, how much do you sell it for? 300?
$138K.
Yeah. Get that money.
Yeah, of course. Listen, a lot of these players owe more money than what they're making, and a lot of the fact he got cut. He's back. He signed with Seattle recently, but I think when he sold this ring, he was out of a job. Man, the guy has to, have some kind of money. He has to be able to live. So, I first thought shame, but in light of the fact he got a ring and didn't even play in the Super Bowl, got to go with you, Rob. No shame. And we are counting down for no reason at all. All right, Rob, we're going to let that horn honk, and we are going to go shame or no shame. Rob, shame or no shame? Richard Jefferson called the Greek freak a Pippen and needs a Jordan. Shame or no shame?
I mean, no shame, because that's the truth. I mean, if you're not a scorer in the NBA, you can only be a star. And I'm not saying that Giannis is not a superstar. He is a superstar, but he can only be a superstar when he gets a running mate. Like, it's just, no offense, it's like Jordan or Pippen. Like, if Jordan didn't have Pippen, he would only be a star. He would be the greatest star you'd ever see, but he's only a star. He wouldn't be winning championships. So everybody needs somebody. There's very few. Even LeBron can't do it.
A lot of sides of this argument, and I got to go no shame, because if you look at Scottie Pippen's listed as one of the top 50 players of all time. Greek Freak is definitely going to be listed as one of the top 50 players of all time, and due time, if he does what everyone thinks he is, he might be top 15, maybe even scratch the surface or sniff the surface of the top 10. But until then, he's putting up a bunch of boards, and he's been a good team leader, as Pippen has when Jordan was gone. But the results, as far as how far he's getting, has been the same, Rob. So got to go no shame. Good job on Jefferson, who I see all the time in the South Bay. Shame or no shame? Djokovic defaults for beating a line judge. Shame or no shame?
I mean, got to go shame, because, I mean, it was a real dumb move, but he does it all the time, I just think that, he's the player that, has all the antics. He's an amazing tennis player, but he's just got to reel it in a little bit. And I think, maybe Federer can talk to him a little bit, because, Federer was that same kind of party guy, do too much, do extra. And then when he settled down, man, he became one of the greatest of all time. And Djokovic is already one of the greatest. So only imagine.
Shame, 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 shame a fool. Sometimes when you swing your racket and sometimes when you catch these little tantrums, of course it's not you that gets hit by the dropping rock. No, it's going to be the person standing next to you. She was the person standing next to him. And I buy a lotto ticket on the chances of getting hit in the throat, but it happened. He has to apologize, and everybody else that has done this has defaulted. If you look historically, anyone that's done this kind of thing where someone else gets hurt has been a default. So, yeah. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because my impulse says it. Shame or no shame, Washington, whatever their team name is right now, releases Adrian Peterson. Shame or no shame?
I mean, again, I don't know too much behind it, but, you know, Adrian Peterson's a pretty outspoken guy. He also wants a very substantial role in the offenses, even to this day. And, you know, his body's not at peak position anymore, you know, condition anymore. So I can understand it. So I'd have to say no shame, but I hope somebody picks him up.
Yeah, man. I say no shame because consistency is the key. And I mean, I don't think he cost him a lot of money in the first place. So a lot of people would say shame because, you know, if you get him for dirt cheap, and you're lucky enough to have someone that takes care of his body and that everyone in the locker room respects, he's only going to do the locker room help and not do the locker room harm. But no shame because Washington's going a younger direction. They got the young quarterback. They got a young defensive backcourt. So, yeah, no shame. I mean, it's silly just to even bring this one up, but there you have it, just the same. And that concludes our shame but no shame segment, people. Let's get my Robbie. We're back. All right, Rob, this section is called Quick Question. We did a good job last week, much better than the week before, and let's see if we could do a better job than we did last week, okay? Wherever we are constant, ever-improving versions of ourselves. And let's roll, my man. Quick question. Who has a better chance of winning the Olympic gold medal for beach volleyball next year? Is it Kleiman and Ross, or is it Mullen Sorum?
I'd have to go with Kleiman and Ross. I think that the competition on the men's side is like just super stiff, you know, where anybody from the top 10 could pull off a win. You know, Brower Musin could win the gold, honestly. So, yeah, I just think that, you know, with a player like Alice Kleiman, her height dominates. So,
yeah, I'm going to go with actually Mullen Sorum. I think, like you said, there are a lot of people on any given day that could beat anybody. But when you think about it, only the well-coached teams and like the Germans did a really good job. Trevor and Try actually took a set in the Battle of the Bronze, but those are things you call an outlier. You know, just like Kleiman and Ross losing to the Czechs 2-0 was an outlier. I think momentum-wise, if everything stayed the same, absent of COVID, I go Mullen Sorum, but we both know things do change. Quick question, Rob. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Kamaru Usman to fight Gilbert Burns at UFC 256.
Oh, totally thumbs up. I mean, that's going to be a really fun fight. Yeah. Really fun fight.
Yeah, I was excited about that fight the first time. They were supposed to have it, and you know, he had to pull out. And I'm so glad that Usman beat Masvidal because now we get to see this fight. You know, thumbs up or thumbs down? Ja, my guy from the Grizzlies, voted Rookie of the Year.
Double thumbs up. I mean, and people were saying this from the beginning, like, hey, if you're in it long enough, you know, if you do the longevity as well as great stats, that should win you the chip, not just being great.
What you can do, right? Hey, the difference between him and Zion for this rookie campaign, if you're looking for a Rookie of the Year, my best ability is called availability. Ja's there the whole time, playing game in and game out, like a savage. Now the team made the playoffs, but he gets my vote for Rookie of the Year. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Nets hire Steve Nash as the head coach. I'm going to go thumbs up, but very, very tentatively. I'm not this big fan of just taking point guards and just having them jump the chain of command for head coaching experience. So contingent upon who he picks as his coaching staff, I'll go thumbs up.
This might be a little longer than quick, but I'll go both. I'm going to go thumbs up because I definitely think that he has the potential to be a great coach in the way he takes care of his body and the way that he understands the game and the way that, that all translate to being a good head coach. But I will go thumbs down because it looks like, someone was saying in their post, there's a lot of great options out there. I'm very surprised that Mark Jackson didn't get a call. I thought he would be a perfect mix, a perfect
proven
match for
coach,
that group.
a proven head coach too.
Proven head coach to make a team come from something to Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Montrezl Harrell, 6th man of the year. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for the players that are available to be 6th man of the year. I still think Lou Williams is always up there, but you can't give it to him every year. Yeah.
Alistair Overeem won via knockout against a very competitive Rakic. Who, if he's one fight away from getting a title shot, who's the one guy he's going to have to beat? Like if he's a one then a title shot, who's it going to be?
I honestly, I'm not sure. Right. I really don't know.
Because there's just so many of them. I mean, look, for me, I'll go for me. He has to fight Francis Ngannou again. Ngannou levitated him on an uppercut and knocked him into the middle of next week. So that
How about this?
So that just means never.
Yeah, he ain't ready for that. I don't think nobody really ready for that. But we got to see the Stipe Francis Ngannou. That's what's got to happen. But John Jones, I think maybe that would be a great fight to segue John into the heavyweight and then. Maybe give him a chance to get back. Do
you know who would love that fight? John Jones and Alistair Overeem. They actually sparred together. They got more than enough homework on each other. And John Jones looks like, if you look at his body structure, like his hips and where his shoulders are, he looks like he can put on, let's say he walks around 230. I don't think he needs to put, if he wants to put on anything muscle, go 235, 240, and he still looks the same. I don't think he loses a lot of his speed, water weight or whatever. He could already take a hit. So I'm not worried about the heavyweights hitting too hard. The guy could already, he's already got his mouthpiece knocked out by Daniel Cormier.
And his game is not predicated on speed. The problem with me with John is he's not an offensive fighter, but he fights like an offensive fighter. He defends the takedown very well, but, he gets hit a lot. And my problem with him is that when you go to that next level, that's why I feel like he didn't want to fight Jan Blachowicz, because he's like the teetering on that level of powerful, lightweight to, pretty powerful. I'm
and
sure
with the reach,
Blachowicz could go over to heavyweight and do some damage too.
Yeah, and Blachowicz has a reach. Like, look at all the powerful people that Jones faced. Like, Glover Teixeira hits hard, but he didn't have the reach. Jones is just basically Ric Flair eye poking him. Poke, poke, poke.
And he plans
Three
that.
Stooges style,
he plans really well for his fights, so it would be very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like to see Overeem fight John Jones because, it would be, a very active fighter. John's not the greatest, but a very active fighter, as we see with, what's his name, Reyes. Very interesting.
Nice. Do you have a sports movie of the week?
Yes.
I got so distracted. I got like 3, so I'd like you to go first.
So mine is the Legend of Bagger Vance. Will Smith, older movie, but I stumbled across it. Not a lot of people. I think there's like a couple amazing golf movies out there, like The Greatest Game Ever Played, but there's just some amazing golf movies, and the way that they connect you to the sport is just pretty uncanny in a lot of sports, movies. So, but that movie for me was very interesting in that, it went back in time. It showed a really witty, caddy, which is a very interesting, there's a very interesting history behind caddies, and how, it was only for like the second class people and they couldn't even play golf, but yet some of the caddies had better information and knowledge than, a lot of these golfers because they just watch golf all day. they help them with their game. They see different aspects of it. They're around a high level of game. So Legend Bag of Vance, amazing movie. Matt Damon, Will Smith, I forget her name, Catherine Zeta-Jones. No, not Catherine Zeta-Jones. What's her name? Charlize Theron. Yep. So, yeah, great cast, great movie. Definitely need to watch.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool watch, and it definitely beats the hell out of my movie selection of the week. I was doing Necessary Roughness. Necessary Roughness is about an entire team being disqualified because of some kind of fraud, and then they had to rebuild a team and make these ragtag group of misfits, and players have to play Iron Man football for the entire season, and they had to get a 38-year-old guy who's not, not playing anymore, that's never played college ball, like recruit him to be the starting quarterback. Necessary Roughness. I could go through the cast, but you really don't know anybody on this cast. I would call it more of an ensemble film in light of the fact nobody's star power supersedes the other. But there's a sense of humor about generations of people trying to relate to each other. Like the quarterback's in the dorms and his roommate is like 19 years old from the Isle of Samoa, who respects his elders, the people watching this guy walk in the dorms, and they're like, "Are you looking for your kid?" And he's like, "No, I'm looking for my room." And they're like, "Oh my God, dude, I wonder if he knows Elvis." So he was 38 years old, I think, and his character was, but they kept calling him a 40-year-old, which is what 38-year-olds and 37-year-olds get called. It's like, dude, I'm arguing with a 40-year-old, and some people are sensitive about your age. I'm not 40 yet, We want y'all chill. Why don't y'all wait 3 years and call me that? But, I'm 50, so I went through that little phase for like 2 seconds. Now I see the end result. I don't even care about age anymore. I'm just celebrating stuff, and I celebrate this movie, Necessary Roughness. All right. Before we go, no shout outs, but I do want to do like a feed. R.I.P. to Tom Seaver. You were both New Yorkers. For Mets legend, died at 75 years old. Pitcher, won the World Series with them in 1969. R.I.P. Lou Brock, who for a long time, he was a Cardinal and a Cub, longtime Cub and Cardinal, who led the league in career stolen bases. Of course, that record got crashed by Rickey Henderson, who played with the Oakland A's and then the Yankees and I believe the A's again. Love that shot by the Raptors last week, with 0.5 seconds. Forgot that kid's name. First name is OG. That's all you need to know.
OG Anunoby.
That's all you need to know. The Seahawks re-signed Josh Gordon, so he really could have kept that ring. So big up to Josh Gordon for being back in the NFL. But if the rules say you got to do something, you have to do something. And I got to quote Stephen A. Smith on this again.
Come check out the option.
Stay off the weed. And, dude, that's all I got. That's all I got. Many people. Next week we're going to talk about why the people boycotting sports because of their kneeling for the flag and because of their social justice stances. And you, the fans, you can message us. But next week we're going to answer: does this affect the bottom line of the owners, and how does it hurt the sport, and how does it help the sport? But we're doing that next week. So just a heads up for our people who are listening and who are watching. For a heads up for Rob, who I never tell anything to. And how is he so good, right? Just found out this morning, Jay. We're going to talk about Kerri Walsh. So, Rob, go ahead. Do your send-off, because I like it, because it's the same thing as every week. You like Russell Simmons from Def Jam.
Hey, man, just be safe out there. Wear your masks, please. Wash up, be healthy, be safe. And, hopefully, again, in the bigger scheme of things, if we lose a single year in our entire lifetimes, I think it'll be okay, But if the longer we hold this off, the longer it's going to be. So Let's do it like Sweden, y'all.
Yes.
2 weeks quarantine. Come on. Let's keep it real, like how they actually did it, not how we should have done it or why they don't wear masks anymore. Sorry.
Nah, look, I asked you for your opinion and what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say, shut up and dribble? No. Right? They tried to do that to LeBron James. They didn't do it to LeBron James. We did not do it to Kerri Walsh. We ain't telling her to shut up and dribble either. But if to end this, if you put your opinion on Front Street, and if people disagree with their opinion, the respect works both ways, as long as people respectfully disagree, right? I'm not talking about trolls. Trolls, I'm gonna have trolls. Rob, you're gonna have trolls. If you're a celebrity like she is, don't feed. Kerri, look at me if you can hear this. Don't feed the trolls. Don't answer back. Do not post back to trolls. If people disagree with you, that's cool, man. But you have to take, I feel like I'm talking too much about this, but if everybody talks about how brave this woman is and how she's a big advocate for freedom and how people have to be thick-skinned about this, that works both ways. That means the criticism, she has to have thick skin and take the criticism, right? Otherwise, who is she? She ain't Kerri Walsh. And that's all I got. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the other thing is when you have a statement, when you have a stance, there should be a reason behind it. That's why I keep talking about intent. The intent needs to be to start a conversation because you feel as though your end is not being heard. That's being brave. So if the whole essence is that you want to do this to start the conversation of do we really need the mask or not, then okay, that's a respectable ideal.
Yep.
An idea that you'd like to, manifest into fruition. But the idea that just being brave is to walk into a store without the mask, we've had a lot of bravery in this country, especially in the last, 6 months with our doctors, our, essential workers. And just because they're grocery workers doesn't mean essential, doesn't mean they're, more than anybody else. It just means you can go get food at the grocery store. It means that you can go to the hospital and a doctor can take care of you. That's what essential means. So the whole essence that, we can't do a little bit more so we can get out of this situation.
And California, get your testing kits out there, dude. Right? I mean, if whatever definition of essential is, and we don't always agree on what an essential is, but your point is not wrong either. Get the testing kits out there. There are people in New York that have no symptoms that are testing kits, all right? You have elite athletes out there that are getting tested 5 to 6, 7 times a week. I do not want to hear we don't have enough testing kits. I do not want to hear that testing kits should only be prioritized for people with essential staff. We are the -- 1 industrialized nation in the world. And if you dare to have a vaccine next year that you're demanding that you make us take, and pay for it. The vaccine has to be consistent with combating a strain that may with testing, right? If the testing's not reliable, then stop fucking testing people. And I just cursed. California leans more left than right or whatever in some cases. We're in Republican Space Ranger country, the beautiful, gorgeous Hermosa Beach, California, and Redondo Beach and Manhattan Beach. We have the means to get everybody tested. So if you want athletes to get out there, if you want people to play on the beach, and if anyone wants to make an argument, go to your governor, go to your city council person, go to your mayor and say, hey, we pay our taxes, all right? Our taxes did not ask for this virus. The government of the United States gave it to us for free, all right? But we are willing to pay for the testing kits to get out there. You want a boys season for club? How about you get your kids tested? I'm out of air now. All right, I got just enough air to say this. Rob might love you guys, but I had enough of you, okay? For all of you at home, for all of you in your living room, for all of you on your iPad at Starbucks, for all of you on the lunch line, social distancing on your iPhone or your Droid. For Rob, keep it McLean. I am Jason DeBeas, and for this week, this is episode 33, and we say, we're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.